This week on Real Talk with Denver7 and CPR News, lending a helping hand so the holidays are a positive time for everyone.
We explore the ongoing work in our community to make sure households can have food on the table.
We actually have the highest rates of food insecurity now than we have had in 10 years.
Last year, we took 278,000 calls from Coloradans asking for help.
And creating positive first memories this holiday season, even for those not able to celebrate at home.
We just want to make sure that everyone gets the care that they deserve.
Plus, how you can continue the spirit of giving even beyond the new year. Welcome to Real Talk with Denver7 and CPR News. I'm Denver7's Micah Smith.
And I'm Colorado Public Radio's Nathan Fernando Frescas. Each week, in a partnership between Denver7 and CPR, we have a real talk about issues impacting underrepresented people across Colorado and amplifying voices you may not always hear.
While you think of the holidays as a time filled with joy and celebration, there are others who experience the opposite, with some struggling to make ends meet.
And it's not just about gift giving either. High prices at the grocery store have forced many households to cut down on spending this holiday season. In fact, the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows overall prices have gone up by, get this, about 21%.
Wow. For perspective, if a family spent $1,000 on groceries 4 years ago, Harvard University found they would need $214 more today to buy the same amount of food. With the need so great to keep food on the table for families, many have turned to local food banks and pantries for help. So joining us now is CEO Erin Poling from Food Bank of the Rockies. Erin, thank you so much for being with us
Thank
today.
you for having me.
Can you share what the need is like here in our community, especially during the holidays?
We actually have the highest rates of food insecurity now, not just here in the Denver local area, but across the country than we have had in 10 years. And we had the biggest one-year increase than we had since 2008. And that's because all of the temporary supports that were in place in the pandemic era have all ended. Those are supports for families, such as increases to SNAP or food stamps, and supports for organizations like Food Bank of the Rockies. So while those supports have ended, that has resulted in an increase in need because of increased housing costs. We've been hearing this in the news. And so the need is up, and Food Bank of the Rockies and organizations like us are faced to meet that need with less federal support than we've ever received. So really more dependent on the generosity of our community than ever before.
So is that meaning more outreach to the general population? How are you able to do more? I'm assuming your prices are going up as well.
Yeah, that's the double-edged sword there. So we are seeing an increase in need because the neighbors that we are seeing are having to pay more for groceries and having to make choices that none of us should have to make. Like, do I put a nutritious meal on the table for my family, or do I pay my car repair bill? So at the same time, Food Bank of the Rockies, we purchase about 30% of our food outright. And the cost of that food has increased dramatically. We buy in massive volume. On average, we're only spending 20 to 30 cents a pound for produce, prices that you or I can't compete with at the grocery store. But we buy such massive quantities, like let's say cabbage, for instance. Over the course of a year, we buy 17 semi-trucks full of cabbage. We're now spending about $30,000 more a year just for cabbage than we were a year ago. We multiply that times every other food item that we purchase, and that has a big hit. So the reason we're able to meet the need, or the way that we are, is thanks to the generosity of our community. People making a $5 gift, a $500 gift, and giving back and showing up to volunteer.
What has giving been like this year? I know you're grateful for every single cent of we've spoken before, and I know just the gratefulness that you always exude when it comes to community support. But has the support been there? Do you need more support? What is it looking like right now?
We always need more support, both volunteerism and financial gifts. And we are seeing a small increase in that giving, which is exactly what we need. We have a boy who is only 7 years old, and he has made this part of his giving to Food Bank of the Rockies, running a hot chocolate stand. In the summer, he runs a lemonade stand. So it's gifts like that, as well as people who are giving, an end of year, maybe more significant financial gifts. But for everyone making gift, it's significant. It's from their heart, and it makes an impact.
For someone who maybe hasn't needed this assistance before now, Is there guidance you can give them so maybe they feel more comfortable? Because I think there is a little bit of stigma to say, I got to go do this year.
Yeah, we believe there shouldn't be any shame in needing help with food. And food and appropriate nutrition and familiar nutrition is such a basic building block. We can't maintain employment. Our kids can't do well in school unless they're being able to have their nutrition needs met day in and day out. I was just at our largest distribution of the year. It was a Thanksgiving distribution, and talking to the people in line, I talked with a woman named Casey who had left an abusive spouse out of state, moved here with her 3 teenagers. And she's like, I never thought I would be here in line. I did not see this coming. And I'm so grateful that I'm here, and I wouldn't trade what I had there for what I have here. And thank you, Food Bank of the Rockies, for making this possible.
Oh. Erin, do you all have clients who like Casey, you just mentioned, who are so grateful for the help that they try to give back in return, and maybe they aren't in a position to do so monetarily, but they volunteer, they try to provide some sort of volunteer labor to pay back?
We often see that. Many people who are donors to us said, as kids, I didn't have enough food, and this is why I'm giving now. We have other people who, like I myself, someone at a Thanksgiving distribution said, last year I was on the other end. I was on the giving end. I did not foresee I would be here. So often we don't know what to expect. We call the people who we serve neighbors. And that's who they are. They're your neighbors, my neighbors, they're our neighbors. And there isn't anything that separates us, sometimes a very unexpected medical expense.
Yeah.
It's just that quick. In one year, you had someone who was giving, and the next year they needed some help themselves.
Yeah, it's often surprising, and just people who, like, I want to provide for my kids, and it's gotten so expensive.
And Erin, one thing I find really interesting about Food Bank of the Rockies is the focus on culturally responsive food. I know at times we think food is food, but that's not always the case. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, what we believe at Food Bank of the Rockies is that every person, every family should have enough nutritious and familiar, that keyword familiar, food to thrive. And so what we've done is we've built out cultural lists for 12 different cultures, ranging from Venezuelan to Somali to Ethiopian, Afghan, specific food items that are familiar to those neighbors. And then we're purchasing, like I mentioned, semi-trucks full of food every week. So why don't we study what foods are familiar to those neighbors we are serving and source food accordingly? We are purchasing a lot of hams over the holiday season. We're also purchasing and providing a lot of masa flour, corn husks, lentils, basmati rice. So our neighbors who celebrate everything from Ramadan to Lunar New Year to Christmas to Hanukkah have food that is familiar and nutritious for their families.
Erin Pulling from Food Bank of the Rockies, thank you so much for joining us for this Real Talk.
Thank you.
Well, there is a need for families to have a holiday meal. Other nonprofits in our area are working to make sure other basic needs are met beyond this time of year.
Still to come, the efforts of Mile High United Way to make sure everyone of all ages are supported. This is Real Talk with Denver7 and CPR News.
Welcome back to Real Talk with Denver7 and CPR News. I'm Colorado Public Radio's Nathan Fernando Frescas.
And I'm Denver7's Micah Smith. This week, we are focusing the conversation on how the holidays can come with added pressure for those who are struggling to make ends meet. According to the Colorado Health Foundation, 40% of those living in the state say they are, quote, just getting by financially.
That's where nonprofits like Mile High United Way work to help families get the support they need. Joining us now is Chief Strategy and Development Officer Chelsea Carver from Mile High United Way. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about all the services provided to help the community that are available right now.
I love that. So a lot of people don't know, but Mile High United Way is actually the very first United Way in the whole world. And when we were founded 137 years ago, we were founded with the idea that it takes a community united to do the work together. And so from 137 years to now, what we focus on, is supporting families. So everything from early childhood education to youth success, getting kids out of school and into post-secondary or whatever is the right path for them. And then I think, to your point, the most important thing in this time of year is really supporting families' basic needs.
What are some of the biggest needs that you're seeing this holiday season?
So one of the programs that Mile High United Way runs is our 211 helpline. Last year, we took 278,000 calls from Coloradans asking for help. That is everything from, I can't pay my rent, I can't feed my kids tonight, I'm in a domestic violence situation, I need to get out. And the top 5 needs that we have seen really don't change very much over the years, but it's housing, everything from utility, rent, mortgage, any of that. Food, as I know Erin mentioned before, and then childcare is a key piece along with transportation.
And it really is as simple as saying 211, and you're going to have an umbrella of services there. That must be so comforting for people that need it. But do you find that maybe some people don't know that 211 even exists?
It's one of, I think, the most frustrating things is I have been on the receiving end of 211 services, and I've also been on the giving end. And to know when I needed it most, I dialed 211, and there was a caring voice on the other end of the line that said, "What do you need?" But then also took time to say, "What else is there?" That makes all the difference when you're reaching out for help. That's what you need. You need someone to say, "Come with me, I've got you."
Like we heard prior, there are challenges in this time of year for organizations like yours. What are some of the big challenges that you're facing right now?
I think one of the things that we've heard, just like everyone else, is Denver is really expensive, and the surrounding areas are not that much cheap. And so what we see right now is families needing help with food, with rent. We know that volunteerism really dipped during the pandemic. Now, we're happy to say that volunteering has gone up, but we have more need and fewer dollars and fewer volunteers to accomplish all of those things.
We know donations and volunteering are very, very important, and that's what keeps Mile High United Way going. But are there other ways to support?
Absolutely. You know, when you think about what it means to be that community united, everybody thinks about it at the holiday time. And certainly we need it at the holiday time, but there are countless opportunities throughout the year where we could really use support. So if you go to our website, you can look for volunteer opportunities throughout the year. You can look for opportunities not just to donate items, but your time, your expertise, your brains. We always have need for really smart brains, and we would love that.
And it's definitely the need for volunteers. Is there a personal story, a personal connection you can share with our listeners or our viewers about someone who was impacted in a positive way by simply, picking up the phone and saying, "Hey, I need some help"?
I will tell you one of the hardest and also best stories is I had the opportunity to meet with a mom. Most of the people who call 211 are single mothers with children. So you picture that you've got a mom with 2 young kids, and she was literally making the decision between, did she use her money for bus fare to try and get food assistance, or did she use her money to try and pay down rent so they wouldn't be evicted? And sitting on that phone call and hearing the absolute desperation when it started, and then making it through 20 minutes of problem solving, because really that's what it becomes, right? You're saying, okay, if you've got this, can we supplement with some extra toys for the holidays so you're not worried about that? Can we supplement with utility assistance so you have extra money for food? After 20 minutes of problem solving, we got her signed up for food stamps for SNAP. We got her signed up for rental assistance, so she stayed in her home, and we were able to connect her with some long-term workforce development prospects. And so I think it's that really hard one of no one wants to hear about a mom and a baby struggling, but at the end of the day, that's why United Way exists, is we're there to be that helping hand to guide you through.
I know sometimes there's a hesitancy to reach out for help. Sometimes it can be pride, but I think other times the problem seems so big. The system seems so big. How do you help people who feel like this is just too much for me to navigate?
That is a tough one because it's true, right? Like, especially when you're in the storm, like it's hard to see outside of the storm. And so I think one of the things that our navigators do such a good job of is that listening ear. right? That's what you need. You need someone to say, bite by bite, what do we take off first? Okay, check. What's next? I think the other thing that's really unique is we know, just as a community is united, you don't solve things on your own. You don't also solve things in 20 minutes, right? So we encourage customers to call us back. We encourage our folks that we're helping to call us back and say, okay, we've gotten your housing taken care of. Call us back in a couple of weeks. Let's work on upskilling. Let's work on job development, because that's what it takes, right? You need someone to keep reaching that hand out to say, come on, we've got you, come this way.
Chelsea Carver from Mile High United Way, thank you so much for joining us for this Real Talk.
Thank you for having me.
While celebrating someone's first holiday can be special, not all families get to do so at home.
Coming up, we'll learn more about the work from one group based in South Denver serving NICU babies and families even beyond Colorado. This is Real Talk with Denver7 and CPR News.
Welcome back to Real Talk with Denver7 and CPR News. I'm Denver7's Micah Smith.
And I'm Colorado Public Radio's Nathan Fernando Frescas. The holidays are made special with loved ones, and for those celebrating their first, it can be even more memorable. But there are those who are not able to create memories within their own homes, like families in the NICU or the neonatal intensive care unit.
That's where the nonprofit Faith's Footsies steps in to not only help during the holidays, but also offer support to Colorado families and those across the country. Joining us now is the founder and CEO, Martha Logan from Faith's Footsies. Martha, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Martha, you founded this nonprofit to help families after you spent 6 weeks in the NICU with your firstborn. What struggles did you face? What was that experience like?
Yeah, so I spent 6 weeks in the NICU with my firstborn. She was born at 33 weeks, and it was during COVID, which just added some icing onto it. But there were a lot of things that we found were missing as far as support for families, but also there was nothing for my daughter to wear. She was born at 4.5 pounds, and that's pretty big for a preemie. You can go to Target or Walmart and pick up the preemie size, but that's meant more for a newborn. They say 5 pounds, but it actually fits around 6. And so I just saw a need, and I knew that there were so many families that could benefit from a lot of different ways that we can support them.
And so you spent that time in the hospital, in this very intensive care place during COVID, and you still had the idea like, there's a need. I'm going to fix this need.
Yeah.
And so talk a little bit about that and what is the need that you found there with these tiny little beautiful clothes that you are producing?
Oh, thank you. The need really is, the biggest need was sizing, but also when you go to put something on, a lot of people will do baby doll clothing or go to Build-A-Bear and pick something up, but then they have to cut holes in it so that wires and tubes can go. And also IVs are oftentimes on the arms or the legs, and that doesn't work with these clothes that are being picked up. And so I created Faith's Footsies and patented these pajamas that would support most of the common needs that happen in the NICU. And then beyond the clothing, we saw a lot of needs. My husband and I, during COVID, we had rent to pay, we had food to buy, we still had to take care of those things. And it was a struggle. We burned through our savings. And so we knew for us, if we were going through that, there have to be other families that are going through that as well. And food was a big one. We were eating out a ton. We were spending 16 hours a day in the hospital. And so we really wanted to make sure that families have food, they have housing, their bills are paid, and if they need to take time off work, we want to make sure that we can help pay for their bills and the things that they may be missing from taking time off work. And then we also have some support that is being donated from psychiatrists and other things for moms that maybe are struggling emotionally. That was something that I personally struggled with and hits hard for me, is just the mental health aspect of it. You're watching your baby fight for their life. Sometimes those babies don't get to come home. And so having the support from those psychiatrists that donate their time to us is really important for these moms as well, and dads.
Yeah.
So in terms of if if someone were to purchase something from Faith's Footsies, is it that a part of the proceeds goes towards all of these programs that you were just talking about?
So all of our pajamas currently are actually donated from Faith's Footsies. So we put together a care box that includes things. We have conversations with these families when they fill out our form, asking what their family's need is, whether that be gas, food, housing, whatever it may be. And then we throw in Footsies that are sized based on where their baby is at that moment, and then one size up. You never know how long your baby's going to be in the NICU, and we want to make sure that we're taking care of that. So when people donate to Faith's Footsies, they are providing the funds that pay for the pajamas, for the manufacturing, to put them in the boxes, and then also providing the funds to help make sure that these families are fed and taken care of. And that's really what we do with the pajamas right now. Families don't really purchase them, but if you want to purchase something, you can go on and sponsor a box for a family, and that's really the best way to help as far as purchasing.
And in terms of the challenges for getting that funding, because you are providing so much for these families, is it donations? Or, I mean, how can people who are listening or watching right now say, I want to help this organization?
Yeah, so we have a lot of ways that you can help us. We've only been going for about 2 years now, and our name is still kind of small in the community, and we serve the entire nation. Anyone from around the nation can request a box, and so really volunteering with us to help pack these boxes, to help run events, to get out in the community. As far as donations go, we run off of donations. We have a place on our website where you can donate items. Maybe donating funds isn't the best for you right now, but sometimes you have something laying around your house that can, be worth a lot in a silent auction. And so we're always accepting donations of items as well to help fund our mission.
Martha, how can people request help? Where can they, find the online form that you were telling us about?
Our website is faithsfootsies.org, and on there you can select families in need. It's our first page that comes up. You can either hit you're a donor or you're a family in need, and when you select family in need, you can fill out a form, and we will be in contact with you within 24 hours to make sure that those are getting out in the mail.
And I'm assuming it's not just the parents with the little baby, it's maybe the uncle or the aunt or the third cousin who's like, I know someone somewhere needs this help, and they can come to you as well.
Exactly. Yeah, we have a ton of grandparents that request them for their little ones, and oftentimes they like to make a donation in their little one's name. We have caregivers. It's not often, a lot of the times there's little ones that sometimes are abandoned in the NICU. And so there are foster parents that come in, and just different situations. Nurses oftentimes request them when they know that a family is in need. So we really take that form from anyone, and we just want to make sure that everyone gets the care that they deserve.
All right. Martha Logan from Faith's Footsies, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that's this week's episode of Real Talk with Denver7 and CPR News. Every week, we have a real talk on issues that impact Coloradans who are often overlooked.
You can find all of our episodes on denver7.com/realtalk or at cpr.org/realtalk. Have a great day.